Is there really two different heat zones with one fire inside your Kamado Joe? Well, to find out, we're putting the divide and conquer system to the test and recording a hot zone and the cool zone to really see if there is a spread that allows you to cook two different foods at two different temperatures all inside one grill. Let's get started. Hey, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue, and today I'm answering one of your most common questions, which is, James, what if I want to cook more than one thing inside my Kamado Joe at the exact same time? And what if that other thing I want to cook, I don't want to cook at the same temperature? Can I get an indirect zone and a hot zone with two different temperatures with one fire and one grill? So to find out, I'm going to set up both the Kamado Joe Classic as well as the Big Joe the exact same way, and we're going to light fires and record our temperature difference. Now, in order to sort of know where we're at, I'm going to set both Joes to run at 300 degrees Fahrenheit at the dome. And I know that I can trust my dome since I've just recalibrated both thermometers. It's a really quick job. If you haven't had a chance to check yours, it's a good idea every 6 months or so because they tend to work their way slowly out of alignment. And so I'll put a link down below if you want to go ahead and check that video out. But since I know I'm working with good information on both domes, I now want to record inside the grill using a digital probe. And so to help log all this, I'm going to use my Inkbird BBQ 4T, simply because it has 4 probes. It'll actually allow me to record a hot zone and a cool zone in both grills simultaneously, and we can take a look and see where they're at relative to our temp gauge on the dome, which should be reading about 300 degrees Fahrenheit the whole time. Now, what constitutes a different zone? If we got a 1 degree, 5 degree savings, is that a cool zone versus a hot zone? No, I don't think so. That's going to be way too close to make any difference in our food. But 50 degrees Fahrenheit or more, we're on to something. So enough chit chat about what we're going to look for. Let me explain the rest while you're a little bit closer as we set up our two Joes, light some fires, and get to work answering this question of, is there such thing as an elusive 2-zone cooking setup inside of our Kamado Joe using the divide and conquer rack? Okay, so for today's experiment, I'm going to use the charcoal basket divider that comes on the Series 3 Kamados. I normally never use this accessory as I like to rake the coals around and move my heat source manually, but just to help keep everything contained and as equal as possible between two different size grills, I've gone and added my charcoal basket divider to both Joes. So what we're going to do from here, I'm just going to add a touch more fresh Jealous Devil charcoal. Okay, that is more than enough. And so the fresh stuff always just catches fire a little bit easier and tends to put off a little bit more heat. So that will be more than enough for today's cook. Next thing we're going to do is install our divide and conquer rack. Okay, next what we're going to do is install a heat deflector plate on the very bottom on the cool side. So that plate is sitting right on the notches of our charcoal basket securely and is lined up with the direction of the plate. Okay, next we're going to install our X accessory ring. Now, if I was doing this for a cook, I'd realistically drop my grate right here above the firebox for a sear, and then I'd put my other grate up here as tall as I could get it so that I would have a searing zone and an indirect zone. However, my temperature probes are not rated for direct exposure to the flame, so to help protect them, we're going to bring them and the grate up to the second level, along with our second deflector plate for our indirect zone. I think this will still be more than enough separation in order to get two different zones, but we can always readjust once we get our fire going and start seeing the difference between the hot side and our cool side. Let me grab the two grids, we'll install those, and this Big Joe is ready to go. So I'll pull some stuff out, light our fire, but we'll put it right back just like this. Okay, so for our grid that'll be holding our hot side probe, we'll drop it in right like this. So that'll be our hot side. And then for our cool side, where we've got a 2-stage heat diffuser, one down low and another one up top, just in case any of that fire starts wafting over this way, to record our cool zone. So we will set up our probes in the middle of each zone to see where we land. Let me pull some of this out, start a fire, and I'm going to do the exact same thing off camera with our Kamado Joe Classic. So the bottom vent is all the way open, and I'm also going to open the top vent for now until we start to see some more temperature. Okay, both grills are coming up to temperature. Let's check out our Big Joe, which we lit first. I think we're right at 300 on the money. Let me show you the vent settings. So I'm just inside that third line. Again, vent settings will vary based on your setup. Today we're a half basket with half direct, half indirect. So it'll perform a little bit different than what would normally be your go-to vent settings. And the Kamado Joe Classic that we lit second is catching up. It's just a touch behind. And so I'll also work that vent position just a little bit more to inside that third line. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes. And I think both grills are right at 300 degrees. Let's check. That looks good to me, so I think we're ready to start. Okay, since I only have 2 probes with the prongs, I'm gonna go ahead and put them on our bottom position. So we are what, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're on the 5th one. Actually, let me go back a little bit. Whew, that got hot quick. Who knew direct coals would have heat? So let's go back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll do the 7th one. Just because, again, I want to be over that direct zone. And then for our other probe, I'm just going to go ahead and lay it on the grate just like so, and try and get it to stay there. Second verse, a lot like the first. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, we will lay that probe, and I will close the dome on the cable to try and get it to stay there. Okay, so let's take a look where we're at. Our Classic just a touch below 300. And so it is these 2 probes here on the bottom. So this is our indirect side, reading 279 on the Classic, which is probe 3 right here. And the direct side is reading 356. Let's take a look at our Big Joe. Very similar, I think it's the exact same position, just a touch below 300 degrees. And we are sitting at 283 on the cool side. So that's about a 3-degree difference to our Classic, and 341 on the direct side. And so both of these grills are exceeding that 50-degree Fahrenheit difference that we were looking for. Well, how about that? We actually do have a pretty significant direct hot zone and indirect cool zone difference in both of our Kamados. Both the Kamado Joe Classic as well as the Big Joe exceeded that 50-degree Fahrenheit range after 20 minutes of being left to themselves at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And the worst we saw was a 60-degree Fahrenheit difference. And remember, this 60-degree difference is also at the middle level of our divide and conquer. So if we were to drop down lower, right above that heat, I suspect we'd get well over 100-degree difference. So that's the number that I'm going to write down in memory, direct right above the coals to as high as I can go on my 3-tier divide and conquer rack. We have 100 degrees Fahrenheit to play with. So that gives us, again, lots of information. We're following a particular recipe that we can go into it knowing how our grill is going to respond, top versus our bottom grate versus our dome. I hope you really enjoyed today's video. Great question. So glad you asked it. It was a lot of fun to make it and share the results back with you. If you have another video that you'd like to see me do, go ahead and let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to add it to the upcoming lineup. Anyways, just like that, we're at the end of another video. If you liked this one, please let YouTube know by smashing that like button, and let me know by hitting subscribe to catch future videos. Until next time, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue signing off, and remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.